Hello, everybody. My name is Brendan Studebaker, and I'm a graduating senior at the UW just down the road. And my company is Endofin. It's a pharmaceutical discovery company, protein-based. And I'm focusing on parasites and the future of IBDs. And just raise of hand, does anybody know any of these diseases? Crohn's, ulcerative colitis, IBD, IBS? Okay, yeah, a lot of you. So at the trade show, every single person I talked to either had one of these diseases or knew somebody close that had one of these. Every single person. And that was the same as the business plan competition 2 years ago. Every single person. This is what colon with ulcerative colitis looks like, and this is what this is without. All these different symptoms. I mean, I've had coworkers that stop in the middle of work for 20 minutes because their abdominal pain's so bad. I have 2 aunts that have Crohn's disease, and it's terrible. They can't get out of their house. I'm going to California in a few months, and my aunt can't do anything with us because she's stuck inside. And this is a problem in my extended family and beyond, and probably a lot of you as well. And one of the most interesting things about these diseases is that they only occur in first world countries. And that's super weird. But the reason for that is, oh, and my map, it looks like, is not showing up. Anyways, there should be a map of the world there. And right under 1.6 million is America, is the United States. And the reason that this only occurs in first world countries is because there's a scientific hypothesis that it's called the hygiene hypothesis, and it says that because we've kind of gotten rid of our parasite infection load and our infection load in general, the autoimmune cells that have kind of evolved to fight and kind of take care of this infection load, they have nothing to work against, so they end up working against us. And so that's why you have inflammation in your bowels, because your autoimmune cells are actually attacking the epithelial cells in your colon and digestive system. 2.5% of Americans, so if you know 25 people, you know somebody with one of these diseases. It's widely prevalent. 1.6 million Americans, over 50,000 of our soldiers have this disease, and 80,000 of our children. Lots of parents aren't letting their kids go into the backyard and play in the soils and things like that, and that's exactly what these kids need. They need to have this kind of infectious load so that their body, so that their cells have something to work on, and they can be, they can build that kind of this immunity that we want. And IBD's market is huge, $16 billion, 31% hospitalization, 35% medication, which is what my business is going to go after. That's $6 billion spent on medication alone just to treat the symptoms of these diseases. And per year, for just the 50,000 soldiers, taxpayers are paying $350 million to keep these soldiers' pain down, for hospital bills, etc. And that's just a small sum of the larger population. People are, insurance premiums are going up because this has a huge effect on the market as a whole. And so what should we do about this? Currently, there's actually a black market for parasites in the United States coming across the border from Canada. The drugs that we're currently using to treat these diseases, steroids on the far left, Advil, ibuprofen, NSAIDs, steroids and non-steroid anti-inflammatory medications, they all have terrible side effects. Diabetics can't even take steroids because it boosts their blood sugar and makes diabetes unmanageable. Advil and ibuprofen thin the mucus in your intestinal tract and give you ulcers. And so it's the exact opposite of what you want in a medication that's supposed to relieve abdominal pain. And so back to the parasites, people are turning to different alternatives, kind of like this more naturopathic alternative. And what they're finding is that by infecting themselves with parasites, there's actually these worms that dig themselves through your skin into your digestive tract. So they stick a patch right on their stomach with a parasite ovum, underneath the patch, and they dig into your stomach. And and they use this parasite that only lasts for 3 months. So it's basically they're dosing themselves with these parasites, but nobody wants to do this. Nobody wants to infect themselves with worms. It's weird. And the FDA definitely doesn't want that. They've spent 30 years trying to get rid of our parasitic infections, and so they don't want to bring those back. And so my company is all about the parasite. Parasites have evolved with humans for millennia, and they have this. The only objective in the parasite's life cycle is to live inside you, take your nutrients, and make sure you don't know that they're there. So these parasites have a protein profile in their saliva that calms your bowel. It's immunosuppressant and anti-inflammatory. But the reason I bring up the evolve part is that these proteins have almost no side effects, because the parasite doesn't want you to have any side effects, because then you would know that they're there. And so these proteins have evolved to do a specific job and nothing else. And so what I propose is that we use synthetic biology, which is the manipulation of genes within different organisms, to cut the parasite out of the equation and just isolate the protein profile that they secrete, place them into yeast cells, eukaryotic yeast cells, and have them create the proteins for us, and leave the FDA out of it. And so kind of like the timeline of the project is ordering parasites from University's Vivarium. We have a select few in the States that hold these types of parasites. You can order straight from there if you have the required labs to. We would harvest the saliva. We would do genetic mapping of these parasites. We would genetically engineer and use synthetic biology to basically grab these sequences, put them into yeast cells, and then have them grow, and then we extract the protein and then manufacture a medication as an alternative to steroids or non-steroid anti-inflammatory medications. And so another really cool thing about this project is that I work here at Rain as a synthetic biologist. And the cool part about that is that being here, we have all the necessary equipment to get started. And all I need is money to order parasites and order reagents to begin kind of this protein discovery project. And I've competed in 2 international genetic engineering competitions, and I've been here for 4 years, and I have some experience. I'm graduating from UW-T, so I've got all of that as well. But we also have companies here that do this type of work as well. We've got protein experts, we've got DNA experts in here that can kind of facilitate some of the holes that I might have in my education, and I'm constantly learning every day. And so the overall timeline, I've projected 1.5 years. You can kind of read this, but I don't think it's going to take that long, because as soon as I have the funds, I can go upstairs and start working right now. I don't have to order any equipment. I don't have to go to any. I don't have to rent a facility. I've got everything I need, and I've got all the people around me that can help me with this project. And so, little financials. I'm not a business major or finance major, but I do know that I have direct competitors, the medications that I showed before. So prednisone is a steroid medication, and these are just the costs. Ibuprofen's low cost, and I project that because it's a protein-based medication, mine will be higher than the other medications, but the medications that patients are using right now aren't that effective, and they've got really severe side effects. And so I think that this medication, regardless of its cost, will be used and will be wanted. And so expenditures, I kind of knowing the estimate cost of reagents, I've kind of just built this expenditures table, and I project that this is going to be a pretty low cost project, just over $10,000. Okay, cool, thank you.
Great job.
Thank you.
So I'm grappling with trying to figure out the business behind it. So are you looking at trying to become a manufacturer down the road? Are you looking at trying to be bought by a bigger player? Are you just going to develop the product and show there's a demand for it and then be bought out by somebody? Or
yeah, so this is the slide that I didn't get to. So I really want to focus on the drug discovery aspect of the company. There are tons of pharmaceutical companies that have the distribution services, the marketing. If you want to be super focused, like most of the companies that do this type of drug discovery, they give away they sell their patents away, and they sell they license their product away because they don't have the. You basically get bumped out of that market quick because there's some big players that kind of control that whole department. Did that answer your question? Okay.
So understanding that this is a drug discovery trial, basically, what's the likelihood of success in this? Are there others that have gone before that have successfully done genetic mapping of parasites or that type of thing? Is there some background in that gives you an idea of the level of success or likelihood?
Yeah, so there are parasite experts, and so can kind of piggyback off of them. But as far as how successful or what's the metric of success, I believe that. So there's nobody doing this type of work. There's nobody that's isolating this protein profile right now. There's only one paper and I looked extensively through NCBI with a doctor at Madigan, and we found one paper that had anything to do with anything remotely close to this. But just looking at what parasites do and how they function, I have no doubt in my mind, like they're producing these proteins that have worked for. You see in third world countries, there's none of these diseases, and the reason why is because there's these parasites. And so, I think the chance of success to finding the protein profile that works, I have no doubt. And I think there was another part of your question. Okay.
So how many different parasites are there? If you have one that you found that works, another company come along and find another parasite, and then yours is on the back burner and theirs is moving forward. So how many different options are there out there?
Right. So from what I know right now, there's 2 parasites being traded on the black market, and that's American whipworm and pig whipworm, and they both have low, small life cycles, and that's why people are using them right now. And so those are the parasites that I'm going to go after. But yeah, that's a good point. Is that somebody could come up with just grab another parasite and do the same thing. But I think that some of these things can be patented. So.
And do you know how long the process is to be patented? I mean, once you get successful with the trials, what's the time period so no one else can steal your idea?
So if I got the money today, I would go to get the patent right now. I know enough to kind of like protect. I know enough about the process to protect myself right now. But obviously, I'm a college student, and I don't have funds to go and start a patent process.
I have kind of a 2-part unrelated question, but
Yeah.
Did you win money in the other competitions? Did you get support for funding? Or?
No, I did not.
Okay.
2 years ago, I placed just out of the money, so 4th, and then I haven't been to a competition since. But but the 2 years that I've waited, I've been talking to people about it, gaining knowledge. I've been working in the lab, figuring out, all the, nailing down a lot of the techniques that I'm going to be using for this project. And so I'm confident now more than ever that I can complete this work.
And you might have touched on it early on, but what drove the passion for this work?
So I'm pre-med right now, so I have aspirations to go to med school, and my family has been plagued with neurological disorders and irritable bowel disorders. So both my aunts have Crohn's, and then some of my extended family have the irritable bowel syndrome, which is a diagnosis of exclusion. And anytime that I go see them, they can't do much. They have to sit next to the bathroom, or they complain because they can't, they're having such, oh, I'm having a terrible flare up today, or so it's difficult. Like I said, I'm going out to California in 2 months, and I'm going to see my aunt and uncle, but my aunt can never go to the beach with us. And so this is a problem that I'm definitely going to pursue via this route. And then when I go to medical school, I'm also going to study gastrointestinal illnesses as well.
So I have one last question.
Yeah.
I'm assuming that a medication as it moves through the process needs to be approved by the FDA.
Right.
And so do are there other sort of synthetic protein type based things that have been approved previously? Is this kind of like a new thing in medications, or has this been done for a while?
So protein-based medications is actually a fairly new thing, and which is why I think that nobody's done stuff like this. It's a fairly new market, and there's kind of a skill gap. So there's not a lot of people doing the work. So that's why. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. Oh, come on. You got another one?
No, it's like, you go through all this, I know, I wish you luck, hopefully it works.
Thank you.
Yeah, good job.